Hi everyone, this is Jed Shlackman. I'm a holistic therapist and spiritual energy healer in Miami, Florida. In this video I will be covering the topic of the law of attraction and the related ideas of like attracts like, and also the idea of opposites attract, and how those phenomena relate to this principle of vibrational attraction. This so-called law of attraction presents the idea that like energy attracts like energy, where the frequency or vibration that we're projecting is a match for the frequencies and energies that come into our experience. For example, a person who carries a lot of energy of anger in their vibration will tend to attract other people who carry a similar energy, other people who have a lot of anger, as well as bringing to that individual different circumstances or phenomena that would act as triggers or catalysts for anger, such as people mistreating them, people doing things that would give rise to that reaction of anger. The idea of opposites attract is one that we often find when people discuss relationships, where you'll find a person, for example, who's very introverted, who seems to be attracted to or attracts people who are extroverted, a person who is very sensitive and caring, who seems to be drawn together with people who are mean or manipulative. So in these different circumstances, it would appear on the surface that opposites are attracting. However, if we looked deeper at this idea of polarity, of how these vibrational energies function, we can recognize that those things that we identify as opposites are actually different ends of the spectrum of the same characteristic, of the same phenomena. One can't exist without the other, in a sense. So in order for someone to be a perpetrator, there would have to be a victim. For there to be shadow, there has to be light, and vice versa. Male doesn't exist without female, hot without cold, tall without short, beauty without ugliness, and so on. So with any particular quality or characteristic we're looking at, it exists on a polarity continuum. If we look at those relationship examples, the person who is the extrovert is at one end of the continuum of social interaction, we could say, and the introvert is at the other end of the continuum. So the extrovert does a lot of socializing and interacting with other people, whereas the introvert tends to isolate themselves and to limit or avoid interactions with other people. But it is the same particular issue that is involved, their social interaction. So in that sense, they both have an extreme that they're expressing related to that issue. So they are, in that context, attracted to one another because they need each other to see that contrast. If everyone was extroverted and there was no such thing as introversion, then those who are extroverted would not be aware that they're extroverted because there would be nothing to compare it to. Therefore, in those circumstances, like energy is attracting like energy, but just mirror opposites in a sense. So different ends of that spectrum, but it's the same spectrum that's attracting them, because they each are playing a role on that spectrum. For those of us who are looking into our personal lives and into the world around us, we can find many examples of how like energy, attracting like energy, can involve both those who are on the same end of the spectrum as well as those who are on the other end of the spectrum appearing in our experience. I'll use for now an example that's brought up by some current events. There is the publicized issue of gun control, where there are people who are very fervently opposed to the presence of guns in society, and there are other people who are very enthusiastic about guns, who like to collect them, who like to practice shooting them, things of that nature. And so these two opposites tend to attract each other. People who are so-called pro-gun may gather together in groups or organizations such as the NRA and find other people who share their interests or their view. And then there are people at the other end of that spectrum or continuum who look for other people who are in some way campaigning against guns, seeking to restrict access to guns to some degree at least. And these groups are often clashing with each other, so they're involved in one another's interactions or experiences. Their attention is being brought toward each other. So those people are encountering those who are at the same end of that polarity spectrum, as well as those who are at the other end of that polarity spectrum. When we are polarized in any way regarding any particular issue or characteristic, we often find that this occurs, that we're drawn toward those who are at the same end of that polarized spectrum, but we're also brought into interactions with those who are at the other end of that spectrum. This is a part of our learning process here in the third density of existence, this realm of duality and polarities. And in this realm, this principle of the law of attraction is very significant. It's being expressed in all of these phenomena. So it helps us to understand this vibrational principle. And as we understand it more, we can be more conscious and aware of what our personal life, our experiences are there to teach us, to bring our understanding or awareness to discover more about ourselves. When we see those who are like us, those who are in a sense mirrors of us, it's helping us see ourselves more clearly. While when we encounter those who appear to be the opposite, those who are at the other end of the spectrum, that is also showing us something about ourselves, because we perceive them as that opposite extreme in relation to ourselves, to our own position at that other end of the polarity spectrum. This gives us information about where we exist in this vibrational universe, what we're radiating or what we're expressing. Ultimately, these polarities help us gain a greater awareness of balance, of how we could find an equilibrium or a neutral point within ourselves, a place where we're more centered, where we're more in harmony with the totality of life, the totality of creation. I hope that this discussion has given some insight to you about your life, about the dynamics that are present in human experience and human society. For those that are interested in exploring these types of topics further, I invite you to view my YouTube channel, and you can also visit my website at www.phinsights.com. That is PHINSIGHTS.com. For now, I would like to wish everyone a wonderful day. Namaste.